What if everything you've ever been taught about morality, meaning, and purpose was nothing more than a comfortable illusion? What if true growth meant dismantling the very foundations of your beliefs, enduring immense struggle, and emerging as someone wholly unrecognizable, someone higher, stronger, freer? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers in history, challenged the world with a concept so radical, so daring, that it still echoes through culture, psychology, and art today. The Übermensch, or Overman. A figure not just of strength or intelligence, but of total transformation, of overcoming. Welcome to The Unfolding Journey, a channel dedicated to exploring the deeper layers of philosophy, self-development, and the human condition. Here, we dig beneath the surface to uncover the truths that drive us, the ideas that shape civilizations, and the challenges that push us to grow beyond what we thought possible. Today's episode dives into one of Nietzsche's most enduring and misunderstood ideas, the Übermensch. So let's begin this journey into the storm of becoming. To understand the Übermensch, we must begin where Nietzsche began, with the death of God. This provocative statement doesn't refer to a literal deity dying, but to the collapse of absolute, unquestioned truths in the modern world. In his work The Gay Science, Nietzsche writes, "God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him." This metaphor represents the decline of traditional values, religious, moral, and metaphysical, that once gave life a sense of coherent purpose. With science, secularism, and rationalism on the rise, the sacred order that had governed the Western mind for centuries was unraveling. But Nietzsche didn't celebrate this death as pure liberation. He saw it as a dangerous vacuum. Without the guiding hand of divine authority, humanity stood on the edge of nihilism, the belief that life is inherently meaningless. Here lies the first crucial insight. The Übermensch is Nietzsche's answer to this existential crisis. In the face of meaninglessness, how do we go forward? Do we retreat into despair, or do we create new meaning? The Übermensch is the one who creates. So what or who is the Übermensch? The term appears most famously in Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra, a philosophical novel where a prophet named Zarathustra descends from his mountain to share wisdom with humanity. His central message is this: man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him? The Übermensch, translated as Overman or Superman, is not a superhero in the comic book sense, nor a master race figure as misinterpreted by later ideologies. Instead, the Übermensch is an ideal, a possibility. A person who has transcended the limitations of the human condition as we know it today. This is a being who creates their own values, rather than accepting moral codes handed down by tradition or society. Embraces life fully, including suffering, chaos, and uncertainty. Acts from inner strength, rather than resentment or conformity. Is continually becoming, never settling, always evolving. Importantly, the Übermensch does not emerge from comfort, but from overcoming the struggle with doubt, fear, loss, and limitation. To become the Übermensch, one must transcend the conventional dichotomies of good and evil. Nietzsche saw traditional morality, especially the Christian-influenced values of humility, obedience, and meekness, as a slave morality, born out of weakness and resentment. In contrast, the Übermensch lives by a master morality, which values strength, creativity, pride, and the affirmation of life. This isn't a license for cruelty. Rather, it's a call to create values that are life-affirming, rather than life-denying. It is the difference between living reactively, according to rules imposed from without, and living creatively, shaping meaning from within. The Übermensch doesn't conform to society's expectations, but redefines what it means to live meaningfully. One of Nietzsche's most challenging ideas is the thought experiment of eternal recurrence. He asks, what if you had to live your life over again exactly as it is for eternity? Would you curse this repetition or embrace it? The Übermensch says yes to life, not just to its pleasures but to its pains, failures, and absurdities. To live in such a way that you could will your life to repeat forever is to live fully, intentionally, and courageously. This idea serves as a test. Can you affirm your existence so deeply that you would relive it endlessly? The Übermensch passes this test. The rest of us are invited to try. No discussion of the Übermensch is complete without addressing its misuse, especially by Nazi ideology. Nietzsche's ideas were distorted by his sister, Elisabeth Forster Nietzsche, who edited and published his works to support nationalist and anti-Semitic causes after his death. Nietzsche himself was vehemently opposed to German nationalism and racism. He saw herd mentality, whether religious or political, as a threat to individual freedom and greatness. The Übermensch is not about domination over others. It's about mastery over the self. It's not about being born superior, but about becoming more than what you were. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch has echoed through countless cultural works, from literature and film to psychology and politics. You can see glimpses of the Overman in characters like Dostoevsky's Raskolnikov, Camus' Assault, or even in modern anti-heroes like Walter White or Tony Stark. Carl Jung adapted the idea into his concept of individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious self. Jordan Peterson references the Übermensch as the one who creates order from chaos. Even self-help movements echo Nietzsche's call to become more than you are. But beyond intellectual circles, the idea touches something primal. In a world plagued by conformity, distraction, and despair, the call to overcome, to become, is more vital than ever. Central to Nietzsche's philosophy is the concept of the will to power, the fundamental drive he believed animates all life. For Nietzsche, life is not about survival or reproduction alone. It is about growth, expansion, and self-overcoming. This drive manifests in the Übermensch as the ability to transform hardship into strength. Where others are broken by suffering, the Übermensch is forged by it. To quote Nietzsche, "That which does not kill me makes me stronger." In the context of overcoming, this isn't a cliché, it's a radical stance toward life. Nietzsche challenges us to reframe suffering, not as something to avoid or escape, but as the crucible in which greatness is formed. Overcoming is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong journey of ascending, falling, reascending. It requires brutal honesty, relentless self-examination, and the courage to walk a solitary path. So what does this mean for you? You don't have to be a philosopher or artist to begin the journey of the Übermensch. Nietzsche wasn't pointing to some mythological figure. We are all, potentially, in the process of becoming. Ask yourself, where am I conforming to values I don't believe in? What suffering have I not yet transformed into strength? What would it mean to live as if I had to repeat every moment of my life forever? How can I begin to create meaning, rather than wait for it to be handed to me? The road to the Übermensch is personal, difficult, and never complete. But it is also liberating. You are not bound by who you were. You are capable of more than survival. You are capable of transformation. The Übermensch is not a destination. It is a direction. It is the path of the one who dares to break away from the herd, to look into the abyss, and to say yes to life anyway. To overcome is not to erase weakness, but to rise through it. To live is not merely to exist, but to create. And to become the Übermensch is not to ascend above others, but to transcend who you were yesterday. So I leave you with Nietzsche's own words. Become who you are. If this journey stirred something in you, if you're hungry to explore more about the deeper truths that shape our lives, then this is just the beginning. Subscribe to The Unfolding Journey for more explorations into philosophy, psychology, and self-discovery. Let's keep walking this path together, into the unknown, into growth, into becoming. Until next time, embrace the challenge, welcome the storm, and never stop overcoming.